Make that big boss less special. It ain't no game, but they saying welcome to the second level. Second level. Second level gaming. Second level.
Remember to pull back on the flight stick and gain elevation.
I've been pretty excited for the first real attempt at a flight sim on PSVR for a while. Sure, it's a little cartoony, but everything about Ultrawings and its trailers up to the release has been super cool looking. So after finally strapping in and firing up the engines, how does it fare? Actually, it's kind of fucking awesome. I have never played an Ultrawings before, but I do know that the inertia-induced experiences are often my favorite in VR, so I was 100% down to fly. I opted to use the move controls for realism, and I'm very glad I made that choice. I had to make a slight adjustment due to the lackluster size of my basement. Rather than kicking back on the couch, I had to sit on the edge, mostly because you find yourself reaching down often to adjust the throttle, and I was just smashing my move controller into the couch. So I shimmied forward, recentered, and was good to go. A small price to pay. The terminology of edge of your seat is apt too. I legitimately got a rush the first time I took off and started looking at the world below. The game feels great. You have to start your plane up a certain way every time to an extent that you actually feel like you're learning to fly a very basic craft. You have a grip action for control and a finger you can extend to flick switches and press buttons, etc. The game also does a great job of easing you into pilothood, starting with very basic things like taking off or going through rings, and eventually landing, which is always nerve-wracking, by the way. After gaining your official pilot's license, you'll eventually be taking pictures mid-flight of desired objects, or shooting balloons out of the sky over a volcano with one hand whilst controlling your plane with the other. It definitely ramps up nicely. As you complete a variety of specialized missions, you earn cash, and with that cash you can buy new air bases. You actually have to use free flight mode, which is a blessing in itself, and land on whichever base you'd like to buy, then buy it. This then opens up even more varied missions, and over time older bases will have newer missions show up in them and the like. The cycle continues in a pleasant way that leaves you feeling as though there was always something to do, and the exhilaration of getting a medal for completion of these tasks will keep you retrying them until you have a gold in every one. Navigationally, it's smooth. Once you figure out the finger pointing action, it's pretty much plain sailing from there. The rest of the control scheme is intuitive, and you really feel it mid-flight. Banking too hard or cutting your throttle too early gives a definite sense of awe, and your stomach might drop a bit. But it's moments like these that we live for in VR. At $25, it's definitely touting itself as a mid to top tier VR experience, and I will happily agree with that assessment. I've never been one for flight sims in the flat gaming world, whether realistic or not, but in VR it was a truly refreshing experience. It put a giant smile on my face and made me want to jump back in time and time again. The progression system is on point, the exhilaration level is fantastic. It's just such a well-designed package. The game kind of reminds me of Headmaster in a sense. Headmaster is one of the most criminally underrated gems on the PSVR unit, but the story and variety of levels made it so compelling and enjoyable. This does the same thing but for flying instead of heading, and because of that it's obviously a lot more detailed and nuanced than Headmaster could be. The overall polish and goal-based progression are the same though. If you're a little on the motion sick side, maybe see if you can play a friend's copy first and know how you'll handle it. As someone who has zero motion sickness issues anymore, I don't get queasy at all, but I could potentially see some folks losing their lunch over the inertia and experience of handling a plane in VR. I really can't recommend Ultrawings enough. This game is a must-buy for PSVR in my humble opinion, as a great example of a new experience in VR that many of us haven't seen or felt before, with a level of polish and detail that even non-flying fans can appreciate. Consider picking it up today, for the thrill of being airborne if nothing else. Thanks for watching.
It ain't no game, but they saying welcome to the second level.